Straight out to Art Harris, investigative journalist at artharris.com. Art, you've just gotten off the phone with Croslin, Misty Croslin's father and sister-in-law. What can you tell me?
I can tell you that Misty is behind bars, Nancy, and she is scared. Her father told me that she doesn't know what to do. She has been getting squeezed by detectives in the case, the Haley case, not the drug case, and they want to know what she knows. They have been dangling names in front of her, wanting her to identify certain unnamed people, and she has not given up anything yet. But
okay, wait a minute. Wait. Don't lose me. Art Harris, police are dangling names in front of her. Okay, her story all along has been she was there at the home alone,
asleep,
with the 5-year-old little girl, Haley, and the little boy, even younger, Junior, Ronald Cummings Jr., that they were asleep. Her story got twisted up as to which bed they were in and so forth. And the next thing she knows, she wakes up to go to the bathroom and ruh-roh, the baby girl is gone. She didn't hear a thing. She didn't see a thing. She doesn't know a thing. So what other names are there to dangle in front of her?
Nancy, that is the $64,000 question in Satsuma. Who are these people police are dangling? Now, we don't know. Are they the people who could have been in her dream that night? She woke up and said that she remembered those 4 shadowy figures in the trailer. We don't know that. We just know that she has heard some names and she's not talking.
Okay, to you, my hours of her yakking away. Back to you, Art Harris. Everybody, we're taking your calls live. Art, she is talking for hours on end. To who? Who's visiting her and who's she talking to?
Well, the last visit, Nancy, several days ago, was with her parents. An hour visit. They split it up into 30 minutes each. Lisa Croslin, her mother, had 30, then her father, Hank Croslin Sr., and her brother Tommy got a visit from his wife Lindsay. So that's the other hour.
Don't care about Tommy Croslin, right, unless he can tell me something that Misty Croslin has blurted out during one of her drug-fueled nights on the town. So all of these people are visiting. Is it one-on-one? Are they across the table? Is there plexiglass between them? Is it via Skype, internet? How does it work?
I believe it is through a telephone and in a different location than the actual inmate, Nancy. That's how they have it set up there.
Okay, wait a minute. So what you're telling me is the visitors are at, for instance, a visitor center in a different building, and they can talk on a phone. Can they see each other?
I think they can. So there is video, or there is video of each person talking. But I'm told they can see each other because there was a very emotional connection.
That's my understanding, Marlene.
For God's sake, the money that they were using to spend on these drugs, why did not Ronald Cummings put that money towards the reward money? For God's sakes.
You know, interesting question. How much money are we talking about, Art Harris?
We're talking about $4,000 worth of drugs that they sold. So this was cash in their hands, supposedly, Nancy.
Okay, Art, very quickly, we've only got less than a minute left. All of these hours of Misty Croslin talking on video, how are we getting our hands on it? How is it that we are getting it?
The St. Johns County Sheriff, the Sheriff's Department, has been taking these recordings, and they are now being reviewed by the case detectives in Putnam County. They're redacting them. Tomorrow we expect Nancy to get a DVD of the Misty tapes.
On felony charges. Out to you, Art Harris. As part of her talking to investigators, she ratted out her own brother?
Nancy, this just goes to show you that in Satsuma, or at least in this family, blood is thinner than water. And that Misty had no loyalty at all. Within a heartbeat of being incarcerated, she told them about Tommy, that there were certain items in the home that she did not recognize and that Tommy had stolen. Suddenly they matched that up with a neighbor's theft report. They searched the house, they asked his wife, and voila, there are towels. There's also DVDs of Harry Potter. There's a Game Boy. Things that Tommy had allegedly stolen from next door. So she is not loyal in the least.
But what did she feel she could gain, Art Harris, by ratting out the brother for stealing, what, some Captain Morgan and some dishwashing detergent? Who cares?
Nancy, as the officers tell me in this case, you cannot ascribe rational thought processes to the people in this case. If she thought perhaps that she might get a decade or two lopped off of her drug trafficking sentence that could be looming if convicted. Perhaps that was racing through her mind. But she is very, very frightened about the drug case. That's what her family told me tonight.
Well, I guess she should be. Art Harris, investigative journalist at artharris.com. We now know there were hours and hours of secretly recorded videotape of Misty Croslin, the last one with Haley. You talked to Misty's father, Misty Croslin's father, and her sister-in-law. What can you tell me again about those tapes? What do we expect to hear?
Well, if you get the tapes that were made today,
right,
you will hear Misty talking about things like what happened that night. I had never known this from her sister-in-law before, but she says she was so tired from those parties in the last 3 days, and when she came home, she did not want to babysit. That she called Ron's mother, and she offered, quote, to pay her to babysit, and Misty told her sister-in-law, well, I said, okay, if it's okay with Ron. Now, remember, he was furious at her. She had just gone off in this 3-day revenge romance, drug, sex, rock and roll, and she didn't know if he wanted her to babysit. She said it was okay, and so that's the last we know, Nancy. That's what you'll hear on tonight's tape.
So you're telling me the night she was there and Haley went missing, she didn't want to be there? She did not want to babysit?
That's what she told her sister-in-law, who I talked to tonight.
You know, that adds a lot to the mix, the fact that she did not want the responsibility of these children.
I believe that Misty sold Haley for drugs. Not the money owed, nothing, but just sold her to get more drugs.
And in Iowa, there was a time that I would have scoffed at that theory, but now in light of the magnitude of their drug needs and her drug dependency, I think that may be entirely possible. The only thing is, she hasn't popped up anywhere. There have been no legitimate sightings of her. Is that correct, Art Harris?
That's correct, Nancy. I can tell you the Putnam County Sheriff's Department has a whole file, books of, quote, sightings that they have followed up on, and no Haley. I can tell you that theory is a little more than a theory in the mind of Misty's father, who told me that Ron claimed he knew where he could get Misty back for $35,000. He tells me he's told that to the police. That probably went right into one of those tip sheets, and you know, no one has been able to verify that at all.